This is a CBS News Special report. I'm Norah O'Donnell in New York. Good day. The man wanted in the Saturday bombings in New York City and Seaside Park, New Jersey, is in custody. He is identified as 28-year-old Ahmed Khan Rahami of Elizabeth, New Jersey. He is an immigrant from Afghanistan and a naturalized U.S. citizen. He has been wanted in those bombings, two that happened in Chelsea, injuring 29 people. Also, some suspected bombings in New Jersey. We're now expecting to hear from President Obama, who's here in New York for UN meetings. Let's listen.
Cuomo and Christie, as well as Mayor de Blasio. We've seen what was apparently a pipe bomb go off in New Jersey, in Seaside Park, where it could have seriously injured our U.S. Marines and spectators who were there for a race. The bombing in the Chelsea neighborhood here in New York injured more than 24 people. We are extremely fortunate and grateful that nobody was killed. And our prayers go out to all of those who have been injured. We want to wish them a speedy recovery. I especially want to commend all the outstanding police and first responders in both New York City and New Jersey for their extraordinary professionalism and their quick response, which surely prevented even more people from being hurt and ensured that people got assistance quickly. The investigation is moving rapidly, and as is my practice, I'm going to leave it to the FBI and law enforcement to provide details. I think everybody is aware at this point that there is a person of interest who is the focus of the investigation, and the FBI can give you further details in terms of how that is proceeding. I told Governors Cuomo and Christie and Mayor de Blasio that they and their teams will continue to have all federal support as they move ahead with their investigations in tracking down every lead and working to keep the people of this city and of this region safe. Law enforcement is asking for the help of the community, and so to everybody in this region, I want to repeat what we've said before. If you see something suspicious, then you need to say something. Contact local law enforcement. In the meantime, I would ask that the press try to refrain from getting out ahead of the investigation. I am extraordinarily happy with the cooperation that's been taking place between the FBI and state and local law enforcement officials. They are moving smartly on this investigation. It does not help if false reports or incomplete information is out there. So try to, as much as possible, stick to what our investigators say, because they actually know what they're talking about. Meanwhile, I know that the United Nations meetings here every year already create an additional workload for New York. But given the UN meetings, we also have a particularly high level of federal resources here to help as needed. We're going to make sure that everybody is working together seamlessly as one team to get to the bottom of what happened, to find those responsible, and to make sure that justice is done. Meanwhile, while all this is going on in New York and New Jersey, we're also focused on the stabbing attack at the shopping mall in Minnesota. At this point, we see no connection between that incident and what happened here in New York and New Jersey. Our attention there is on the people who were injured. And again, we are very grateful that no one lost their life. Thanks to the quick action of a brave off-duty police officer, the suspect was killed, and we avoided more people being hurt. I had a chance also to speak with Governor Dayton this morning. I assured him that we will provide all the assistance that he needs in the investigation. The FBI is investigating the Minnesota incident as a potential act of terrorism. We will direct the full resources of the federal government to make sure that the investigation goes forward aggressively. And finally, I want to take this opportunity to reassure the people in this city, this region, and Americans across our country that our counterterrorism and law enforcement professionals at every level, federal, state, and local, are working together around the clock to prevent attacks and to keep us safe. They are the best of the best. Over the years, they have thwarted many plots and saved many lives, and we are incredibly grateful for their service today and every single day. We will continue to lead the global coalition in the fight to destroy ISIL, which is instigating a lot of people over the internet to carry out attacks. We are going to continue to go after them. We're going to take out their leaders. We're going to take out their infrastructure. They are continuing to lose ground in Iraq and in Syria. And later today, I'll be meeting with Prime Minister Abadi of Iraq to discuss the need to sustain that momentum. As we take away more of their territory, it exposes ISIL as the failed cause that it is. And it helps to undermine their ideology, which over time will make it harder for them to recruit and inspire people to violence. And we're going to continue to enlist tech companies and community and religious leaders to push back against online extremist content and all messages of hate. At moments like this, I think it's important to remember what terrorists and violent extremists are trying to do. They are trying to hurt innocent people, but they also want to inspire fear in all of us and disrupt the way we live, to undermine our values. And so even as we have to be vigilant and aggressive, both in preventing senseless acts of violence, but also making sure that we find those who carry out such acts and bring them to justice, we all have a role to play as citizens in making sure that we don't succumb to that fear. And there's no better example of that than the people of New York and New Jersey. When I was speaking to Governor Cuomo and Governor Christie and Mayor de Blasio, one point that they all made is, folks around here, they don't get scared. They're tough, they're resilient, they go about their business every single day. And that kind of toughness and resoluteness and the recognition that neither individuals nor organizations like ISIL can ultimately undermine our way of life. That's the kind of strength that makes me so proud to be an American, and that's the kind of strength that is going to be absolutely critical, not just in the days to come, but in the years to come. By showing those who want to do us harm that they will never beat us, by showing the entire world that as Americans we do not and never will give in to fear, that's going to be the most important ingredient in us defeating those who would carry out terrorist acts against us. Thank you very much, everybody. And as I said, you will be receiving, I'm sure, ongoing briefings from both the FBI and local law enforcement in terms of the details of the investigation.
And that was President Obama here in New York as he is scheduled to meet with world leaders as part of the UN General Assembly meetings to repeat, the man wanted for questioning in the bombings Saturday in New York City and Seaside Park, New Jersey, which is a shore town in New Jersey, has been arrested. He is in custody this morning. His name is Ahmed Khan Rahami. He is a naturalized U.S. citizen from Afghanistan. He was arrested in a shootout this morning in Linden, New Jersey. That is a town that is right next to Elizabeth, New Jersey, where he is from. The other interesting thing that President Obama said was that no connection has been found between the bombings and the knife attacks yesterday at a Minnesota mall. That Minnesota mall, of course, ISIS has claimed responsibility for that particular attack. Jeff Pegues is here with us. You heard the president. He praised law enforcement. They've acted quickly. Now this man is in custody.
Well, as you know, they sent out this alert via cell phones and put out this picture of this man that they wanted about 3 hours ago, and now he's in custody. So yes, they've been very quick to round him up and put him in custody. Now we're hearing that there may have been a tip involved here from someone who perhaps may have seen this wanted poster out there, but it may have been a tip that led to his arrest.
I think the next big question that many people have is what else is out there? More bombs? Is he connected to a larger terror cell in Elizabeth, New Jersey?
Well, and that's a very good point. I think it was notable how the president talked about the Minnesota attack where 9 people were stabbed in that mall there, and these incidents in New Jersey and in New York City. Now, he's saying there's no connection between the Minnesota attack and New York and New Jersey. Why is that important? Because the question is there a larger conspiracy at play here, or was it just a coincidence? We know that in the past, ISIS has used its social media arm to drum up attacks like this, whether inspired or directed, encouraging people to pick targets and go and attack. So the question is, did they send out some sort of information encouraging people to carry out attacks on that day? That is a question that is still sort of unresolved at this point.
We have the first pictures from that arrest that just happened moments ago. And you can see the suspect there laying on the ground. It appears his shirt is pulled up, his hands behind his back. What will law enforcement do now to figure out whether there are more people involved?
They got to see who he's been in contact with. Was there someone out there who is helping him or was helping him? They got to get those cell phones, they got to get the computers, and they have to scrub those things looking for as much information as possible. They want to know who he was talking to in the weeks and days and really hours leading up to these events.
Right, how he became radicalized. Was he self-radicalized? Was he part of a larger group? All of those important things. Let me also ask you, in terms of the different types of these bombs that were used, the pipe bomb in New Jersey, the pressure cookers here in Manhattan in the Chelsea neighborhood, what did investigators think was interesting about those devices?
Well, everything about them. When you're starting from scratch with an explosion that you see in the video there, everything about those devices and what was left of them is important to an investigator. They want to see if there are any fingerprints there. They look at the components to see if they can trace where these components were purchased from, because if they can do that, well, then you have a store to go to, and then you can look at the store surveillance camera. So, right, one thing leads to the next clue that can help ultimately catch up to someone like this.
What are we hearing from all of the law enforcement officials this morning about how they found him? Fingerprints, particular things in the devices?
Well, it usually comes down to fingerprints in these cases, but as I've said before, and you know this, there is this network of cameras everywhere, certainly in this city, but really across the East Coast. And so you look at the surveillance images that we've seen from the explosion, you look at the surveillance video from stores nearby, you canvass neighborhoods. So all of these things help investigators get the information they need to provide the public with a picture. And then that old theory of if you see something, say something comes into play, where they need the public's help to get as much information as possible as they race to track this person down. Just in case, you know, they don't know whether he was planning something else. And so they got to race against the clock to get somebody in custody. And you
Right.
see they've done that now.
Governor Cuomo saying this morning on CBS this morning that there were certain commonalities among the bombs that had led them to sort of link all of them together. What about these 5 men who were arrested late last night just around New York City?
Well, those are people who are being questioned right now, but no charges in that case. But that's something that we certainly need to follow. One other interesting thing about the president's statement there, did you notice how he talked about getting the facts straight? Mm-hmm. I don't think that was necessarily a message for the media, because there have been some mixed messages there from public officials about the status of the investigation.
In fact, the mayor of New York City wouldn't say it was terrorism. He differed from the governor of New Jersey and New York, who said it was terrorism. We also heard the governor of New York first say it wasn't clear there was an international connection, and then this morning saying it does look like there might be some foreign ties. So, as always, the story evolves.
Yeah, and that's a real muddled picture, and you'll notice that you didn't see investigators making those kinds of statements.
Right.
That sort of stands out, and so there was a message there from the president to, maybe he was calling out the media perhaps, but also to public officials.
Yeah, I think there's a lesson here too, which is that New York City and many of these cities have all hands on deck, and they have cameras everywhere. They can catch you pretty quickly.
Well, as you know, after 9/11, this is a city that has evolved in its law enforcement tactics in many other ways, and that was at play here as well.
Mm-hmm. And what about New Jersey?
Well, I think New Jersey, perhaps for some folks there, this is a wake-up call. But, New Jersey, this tri-state area, this area was affected deeply by 9/11, and so there has been this collective effort to not only enforce law enforcement technology and resources, but just to instill in the public more vigilance. 9/11, 15 years later, it still hurts here, and you see it in the faces and the eyes of the residents and also the police officers.
Well, now we know that the suspect is now in custody, will be questioned by officials as they search to see whether he is part of a larger terror group. President Obama speaking moments ago, trying to reassure the public that law enforcement on the state, local, and federal level are all working together to try and keep America safe. He cautioned, as Jeff just noted, not to jump to conclusions about whether there are foreign connections. But we will have much more here on CBS. Just to repeat, Ahmed Khan Rahami, a naturalized U.S. citizen from Afghanistan, arrested in Linden, New Jersey. There will be much more ahead here on CBS and on your local news and on our 24-hour streaming news service, CBSN. And we will have extensive coverage on the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley. I'm Norah O'Donnell, CBS News, New York.
For news 24 hours a day, go to cbsnews.com.